Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Wait for it.
We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow and improve productivity.
We're very powerful. This country is very powerful. It's far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world that we have. More powerful than anybody, not even close.
This is what we're going to be talking about here tonight. First things first, guys. So get your dose in. Hope you guys are having a good day, because holy crap, do we got some stuff to discuss. Welcome, everybody, to Ashton Forbes' live stream. Guys, tonight, it's Vindication. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. A very special Tuesday broadcast. Guys, today the UFO hearing occurred. And a lot of you, if you're new to my channel, you probably just found out from Alex Jones that the MH370 videos are real, that there's something called 0-point energy, and that plasma is the secret that they've been hiding. Something, the fourth state of matter. Plasma can self-organize and produce coherent balls of plasma. The government has figured out plasma fusion. Right off the bat, the big thing that everybody's been talking about related to this UFO hearing is the video that Congressman Burleson showed in the hearing today, earlier this morning. Congressman Burleson says this video that I'm going to pull up right now, that this video was dead dropped to him. He got this video via a dead drop, supposedly. That this video, somebody removed the markings on it. They dropped it somewhere for Congressman Burleson. He has no idea who the person is that released this video that gave it to him. Now, I want to go ahead and just say right off the bat, this is supposedly an MQ-9 Reaper that is shooting a UFO, unidentified flying object, with a Hellfire missile. Now, I've seen enough plasma orbs to tell you right off the bat, that must be plasma right there. Boom. What we see happen right here, this has to be plasma. You can't hit something with a projectile like this and have it keep flying and then have pieces of it come off and just continue moving without hitting the water. I mean, that thing is right above the water. So there's a few questions that I want to address. I'm just actually going to play this kind of while I speak on it. Let's go with, like, what view is the best here? Maybe something like this. Here we go. A lot of people had questions for me on this. They want to say, Ashton, what do you think this is? This is probably some of the best corroborating evidence for the MH370 videos ever. Because what we see in the MH370 videos are plasma drones. We see a plasma field around an object. And that's exactly what we're seeing here as well. There's actually a name that you can see this blurry, or like almost like there's like a cutout. It almost looks like you can see the stencil around the plasma. This is a surefire sign that you're looking at plasma right here, because it essentially creates, someone was pointing this out, it's almost like it creates like a cellular wall, almost like around this plasma, but it's not cellular wall. In this case, it's like ions, charged ions that actually make it so there's like a bubble. And so you can actually, if you look very closely, when you see plasma, you'll be able to see this little outline around the plasma. And this is what they see when they actually look at fusion in plasma as well. So when I first saw that right off the bat, I can tell we're probably looking at plasma here. And then when this projectile hits right here, boom, it splits apart. It splits apart. Now, I'm going to debunk part of this. People are saying, oh, you can see it split into 4 additional orbs of plasma. That is true. You do see that, but it's not because like the missile like triggered it to, you know, split into 4 orbs and it's going to, you know, teleport a plane or whatever. That's going too far into it. It just happens that it hits the plasma, and then because this plasma is self-stabilized, self-organizing, creating this orb, it displaces some of the plasma. Some of the plasma displaces. And it continues moving because this dense plasma produces its own magnetic fields. So even the smaller portions of plasma, at least temporarily, are continuing to fly because their plasma is dense enough that it causes the electromagnetic fields to stay somewhat stable for at least a short period of time. Now, some questions related to this. Where is it? People say, wouldn't the missile just pass right through it? No. Plasma is the 4th state of matter. So plasma doesn't necessarily mean that it's just invisible, that you can necessarily pass right through it. You might be able to, depending on the plasma frequency, but not necessarily. What I would expect with this plasma is that the missile would be diverted. Why would I expect the missile to be diverted when it intercepts it? Because people are saying, why does it look like, when you see here, if you watch closely, when the missile hits this, it kind of changes directions a little bit. A little bit, maybe not that much. Or maybe it already was changing directions. And that's because the magnetic fields of the plasma itself will probably impact the missile. The magnetic fields of the plasma itself are going to impact the missile. So, yeah, and there's no explosion. I don't know if that's by design. I'm not an expert on Hellfire missiles or what have you. But you can clearly see the plasma hit, or the missile hit the plasma and breaks off pieces of the plasma. Much like if I were to, let's see, what's a similar analogy? I guess you'd like have to have like some kind of something in water, you know, and you imagine if you like swirl it around, you can break off pieces of it. So, or better yet, another way to put it is like, imagine you spill a little bit of water on the table. It's going to kind of stick together, but you can kind of break off a little bit of the water and then have it go off to the side. That's essentially what's happening with this plasma. So no, I don't think the missile would necessarily pass right through it. It does make sense that the missile would disturb part of the plasma. A lava lamp, whoever just said that in the chat. There you go, custodian. It's like having a lava lamp, right? Parts of the bubbles can just split off. It's not perfectly together. Now, another aspect of this is, okay, can it come back together? And I would say that's a great question. Can the plasma come back together? Like after it splits off here, could those little bits come back together there? I guess theoretically, sure. But here's the other interesting part. They might not need to come back together at all. You might not need them to come back together at all. What is the source of the plasma? Well, we believe the source of the plasma is the air. Remember, air breathing magnetohydrodynamics, something I mentioned on Alex Jones's show. The whole magic of these orbs is they don't require an onboard fuel source, or at least they require just such a small amount that they can essentially use the air as their main source of fuel. So if this is the case, then they don't even need to come back together. They can just spin up more plasma, because what's producing the plasma is the magnetic field, the air breathing magnetohydrodynamics. So what I think when we look at these balls of plasma, I just imagine it like there's a device inside there. Now, I can't tell if there's a device inside here or not. It's too hard to tell. We don't know if like the object, if there was something in there that got hit. But just for the sake of argument, let's imagine that there is a device inside there. It's the device inside that's producing the plasma. The device inside is like a tube, as I told Alex Jones. Think of like a tube that's got magnets on it, electromagnets. This is what's producing the plasma. So even if you shoot off some of the plasma, it's just going to spin it back up again. It's just going to spin it back up again. It's just ions. Exactly, guys. It's just ions. It's just electromagnetism. It's just plasma. So the fuel source comes from the air. Then a few more questions. Who's controlling these plasmas? Well, now we get into the realm of speculation. Who's controlling this and how are they controlling it? That thing is flying like, I don't know, pretty close to the surface of the water. We can just tell from the movement in the background that thing's really close to the surface of the water. If there's something inside there, which I personally believe, at least in the case of the MH370 videos, there's something inside, then you could have a quantum communication system. Now, you're probably not going to be able to use a standard communication system inside these plasmas because you cannot, the plasma will reflect certain electromagnetic waves, which means you can't actually communicate to something inside of the plasma. Hal Puthoff's patent actually calls this out specifically. Hal Puthoff's quantum sensor patent, quantum communication device, you can look it up and find it, 1995, says that quantum communications can be used to get through medium like salt water and plasma that otherwise would reflect electromagnetic waves. So if they are communicating, almost certainly they're using a device like Hal Puthoff's patent. He probably built that patent for Lockheed Martin or for the government. And then he has a public-facing side of that patent. How are they controlled? Same exact way. If you have a device inside of the plasma, you can control the plasma. And again, this device inside of the plasma can be really, really tiny. The device inside of this plasma can be probably the size of a microchip. Like the total size of the device inside this plasma can probably be like the size of my phone. So it doesn't really need to be a huge thing inside of the plasma orb. Now, there may be other ones that are bigger with like a whole full tube, etc. And also then if you take the alternative approach, I'm going to call it the Bob Greenyer approach. I think I saw him in the chat a second ago. Yeah, there he is right there. There he is. Look at that. It's possible there's nothing inside the plasma orb. It's possible that the plasma orb gets spun up just like a lighter. Let me get my lighter. I got a lighter just for you, just for this demonstration, chat. It's possible they spin up these plasma orbs just like this lighter. And then once you've spun it up, there it is. It's stable. And it's going to keep staying stable until something messes with it, right? It's very possible that that's also the situation that's going on here. But the issue I have with that is then the question of how do you control it becomes a lot more complicated. How are you remote controlling just a plasma that has nothing inside of it? Now, who knows? I keep my mind open. I'm down to believe in whatever the evidence shows. So the main questions, who is controlling them? I don't know. As I told Alex Jones, my personal belief, my personal opinion is that the United States government probably has the most advanced version of this. But the video that I'm showing here, this video is from, I believe they said it was October 30th, 2024, something like that. So by the time we've rolled around to 2024, 2025, China and Russia have had plenty of time to reverse engineer the MH370 videos. So even if the MH370 videos represent United States technology, China and Russia have had long enough where they could emulate it. So it is possible that some of these orbs of plasma that we're seeing are adversarial. And I think, and if you guys have watched my live streams, there were some warnings that Iran was working on plasma weapons. I think that was about 2 months ago that I was reviewing those news reports, that we were worried that Iran was working on next generation plasma weapons. So even countries like Iran could be fielding objects like this. And the reason why that's important is the other question people ask is, why are we shooting at it? Why are we shooting a Hellfire missile at this, man? Well, number one, this is not aliens. I mean, could it be controlled by aliens? Maybe. But there's no aliens inside of that plasma. Now, you can say maybe the plasma is sentient. Okay, fine. That's not really what I'm getting at here. But this plasma, people are trying to say, oh, this is aliens or whatever. Like, no, there's not aliens inside that. That's just plasma. That's the whole point there. So we can't tell who's controlling it. But if we're going to narrow it down, my number one guess is the United States government, and we're shooting a missile at it because the people shooting the missile at it don't know that the United States government's using it. Just like in the UFO hearing where everybody says, I don't know anything about humans having this technology. Yeah, because they don't know. They don't have a need to know. These people are all like geospatial analysts or military members that saw something. None of them have need to know. So they would just simply not have any idea about it. Number two, I would say, is probably China or Russia. I don't know who's ahead of who. And then number three is whichever other country. And then I'm going to go ahead and say number four, we can say the aliens then, just to make people happy. If it's not China, Russia, the United States, then it would be some, other species or splinter race of humans that lives underwater or whatever that has this technology. Okay. So that's my view of who is controlling it. And then again, how it's being controlled, either by a device inside, like a quantum communication device inside of the plasma, or some people are saying in the chat, psionic powers. I mean, I don't know, chat. Psionic powers are within the realm of physics, assuming that we do have an ether, but I don't think it's the kind of thing where like people have superhuman X-Men powers. But you know what? At this point, I'm open to anything that you can show me evidence for. Can we record them with synthetic aperture radar is another question that they asked. So this also goes down to the point of how plasma will scatter electromagnetic waves. So actually radar would be quite ineffective against viewing a plasma like this. And I imagine that what happened was somebody was watching this on radar and they couldn't get a lock on this. So you hear some of these stories from our military members. I'm an American citizen that say we can't, like, we see these things on our radar, but they're like blipping in and out. That's actually exactly what I would expect to happen with a plasma. If they change the frequency of the plasma orb, like mid-flight, just change the standing wave frequency, it can actually cause the plasma to temporarily appear on radar. So I think that most likely they probably saw something on radar. They saw this object, and then they send the drone in, the MQ-9 Reaper drone, and they are recording it. This is from an MQ-9 Reaper drone. I think they said this is outside of Yemen, is supposedly where this was recorded. And they're viewing this, and now they're locking in on it. And apparently obviously we've got pretty sophisticated missiles, because this missile is like honing in on it. Did you guys see this? Do you guys see how the missile changes directions here? Watch this missile change directions right here. See that change of direction right there? There's a slight change of direction, like it's looking for that orb. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The missile is almost creepier than the orb is to me. As somebody who understands plasma, the missile is almost creepier than the orb is. That missile looks like it's like looking for it, right? Like, and our missiles do that. I mean, that's what they do. They hone in on things. So the other thing I would be interested to kind of round this out, the question that I would be interested is what exactly, how is this missile locking in to the plasma? Especially if this is a cold, non-equilibrium plasma. I mean, how is it locking into? Was it locking into it via the heat signature, or did they have some other mechanism to lock into this plasma orb? I think that would actually add a lot of evidence, a lot of supporting information around what we're seeing happen here. So before we move on to the second video, just kind of to close this out here, I would say almost 100% degree of certainty that this is a plasma orb, we're going to call it, based on its physical properties as we see when it gets hit, right there, has to be plasma. Nothing else that can be. Can't be a solid. Solid would have crashed to the ground. It would have gone into the ocean. Can't be a gas. Can't be a liquid. So it pretty much has to be plasma that we're looking at right there. And that's so massive because literally the day before this, I was on with Alex Jones explaining the history of plasma fusion propulsion and how the United States has discovered it and figured it out. So, vindication. Just like Alex Jones said, as we heard from those clips at the beginning of this show, this is slowly starting to come out. And people are slowly starting to wake up to the fact that we've got technology out there that is way beyond what the public currently understands to be true. Now, another video that I wanted to show here as well that immediately reminded me of another video that looks almost identical to that. So let me pull this up as well. And this one, I knew right away there was something up with this video when I started getting attacked for posting it, especially when I post things where I just kind of say like, oh, this is kind of weird. Let's look at this. So here's another video of two, we don't really know. Let's call them energy orbs, plasma orbs potentially. And this one was recorded in 2011. This one was recorded in 2011, and I'm going to show you, the beginning is the most important part right here. Take a look at this. You ready for this? This is another missile hitting two objects in the sky. Two of them, not one, but two. 1, 2. And look at the movement. This is almost certainly a Hellfire missile as well, or the same kind of missile. You can see the trajectory of the missile change, right? You can see the trajectory of the missile change after it hits the first object. It hits the second object, and this is the craziest part. The objects just go right back to normal. The objects just go right back to normal. Those are balloons, dog. Yeah, I don't think that's a balloon, my friend. I don't think that's a balloon. Safe bet on that one. So the craziest part is people just come up with the craziest explanation. Like, I'm not invested in this video being anything in particular. I just think it's crazy to look at. But you can tell when you see something really crazy, when people are like desperately trying to convince you to ignore what you see with your eyes. That's when I get really skeptical. So today when I posted this, because I was like, whoa, this is like really similar to that last video we just saw. Within just a couple minutes of me posting this, they're already trying to tag it with community notes. And of course, it always goes back to the same person. The community note says, Mick West says that this was a flare that was dropped by a plane. It's been proven. It's been proven to be a flare that dropped by a plane. And by the way, the object that your eyes are telling you is hitting these, that's not real. That's not happening. They're not actually being hit. I'm not making this up. This is literally what he says. Literally says that that's not a missile hitting these objects. I'm sorry. Are you retarded, Mick West? I mean, don't answer that. We know you're fucking retarded. If you don't think that that's a missile hitting two objects, just go somewhere else. Just do anything else. Go back to video games or TikTok or whatever stupid shit you do normally. Because my eyes can tell me that I'm clearly seeing an object, missile hitting these two objects. They're so lazy and so stupid that I'm sorry, I can't give them any respect. I can't be nice to them. And they don't deserve it. They do not deserve our pity. They deserve to be ridiculed because that's what they've been doing to other people. They deserve the ridicule too. So I want to go ahead and say that my opinion is that no, this is not flares. This is not flares. And I'm going to show you why. Because I literally went and pulled up some videos of flares just to help you guys out, okay? So here's, first of all, where's the flare video? Here it is. Here's one flare video for you guys that I've got ready to go. Decoy flares. Yay. This is what decoy flares look like, chat. Just for the record, there's no possible way that you could confuse decoy flares like this. No possible way that this could be confused with what we were looking at in those videos. No way. Okay, so decoy flares, no chance. Okay? Now, the other kind of flare that people were trying to say is that, oh, this might be, what are they trying to say? Parachute flares. They always come up with some new thing. Like whenever there's something unexplainable, the debunkers literally will invent something that nobody's ever heard of before. And they'll be like, no, it's this thing that nobody's ever heard of before. It's dudes flying around on jetpacks. It's a magic Amazon balloon that doesn't even really exist. It's kind of what they do every time. Where it's my favorite was they used to say it was Chinese lanterns. Chinese lanterns is what they used to call these plasma orbs. When people were first seeing the plasma orbs, the debunkers would come and say, oh, it's all just Chinese lanterns, as if we're in fucking China and Chinese New Year and people are putting Chinese lanterns in the sky. I've literally never seen a Chinese lantern my whole life. I lived in Singapore for multiple years. There's no Chinese lanterns flying around the United States. Okay, so here's the parachute flares. I actually literally found a video of the parachute flares as well. I actually found a video of the exact parachute flares that they've been trying to claim are in this video. Here's your parachute flare. First of all, you can tell this is something you shoot from the ground. This is something that gets deployed from the ground. These parachute flares, they're for emergency situations when you need to be rescued at sea, right? And even in the situation of the parachute flare, don't worry, we got an image of it. This is immediately flying to the ground, and you can see a very clear smoke trail above it because of how fast it's coming from the sky to the ground. This looks nothing like the orbs that we just saw get hit by a projectile. There it is. You see all that smoke? You see that trail? You can literally watch this thing rapidly go to the ground. Now that we've addressed that, let me go back, because I want to be thorough. I'm going to show the full video. I have the full original video of the one I was just showing as well. Here it is. U.S. fighter jets battle UFOs over Afghanistan, ? So it looks like this video came out 2021. Here it is. And, of course, in the replies, it's 4 drones carrying flares. What? What we were just looking at was not drones carrying flares. That's the top comment with 800 upvotes. Looks like parachute flares. Looks like illumination flares. Okay, well, I just showed you that. Doesn't really look like them and certainly doesn't behave them. And then you see down here, everyone calling these flares when they don't behave like flares at all, with the exception of them being in the air. This really shows just how brainwashed human beings have become, right? Like, when we don't understand something, we just immediately assume, our minds make up something, even if it's just completely illogical. Our minds just assume it needs to be something normal. They go, it must be flares, it must be Chinese lanterns, it must be balloons. Okay, well, let's take a look. Here you go. This is the beginning of the video. The person is clearly looking around. They don't know what they're looking for right here, right? They're just circling around. And then they come across and they go, whoa, what's that? What is that hiding in the sky? That's not normal. That's certainly not 4 drones dropping flares. That's not 4 drones dropping flares right there. And they zoom in. They zoom in on this. So this thing, look, do these look like flares that are dropping from the sky? Do you see any smoke coming out of these? No. They're just sitting there. And now what are they doing? Now they're leaking stuff. They're literally leaking. There's no smoke above them. Instead, it's the opposite. There's stuff coming out from below them. These video gets even weirder. Look at this. You're going to try to tell me that's a parachute flare? Get the hell out of here, bro. Get the hell out of here with your parachute flares. There ain't no parachute flares that do this. Look at that. To me, that's got to be plasma. I mean, what else could be dripping like that? They're literally dripping. And then, boom, there it is. So we see this. And the only reason why I even entertain the idea that these could be targeting practice. Like, actually, I'm not even against the idea that they're using these for targeting. I'm just saying, like, this is not any flare that anybody's ever seen before. I mean, if that's a flare, it's not conventional flare. I mean, look at that. He zooms back out. By the way, guys, we're now 1 minute and 30 seconds into this video. We're 1 minute and 30 seconds into this video, and those flares have not moved. Those flares are still in the exact same spot they were before. Okay? And that's after they just got hit by a missile. They just got hit by a missile, and they're still sitting there. So even if you believe that that's a flare, Flares don't get hit by missiles and then just stay in the sky. They don't recombine or recombinate. Like they literally, look at this, gets hit. You can see it splash everywhere. Watch this. Objects sitting in the sky. Where is it? Yeah, there's splashes everywhere, and it just reforms. So here's the thing about this, and I'll just show the rest of it for. I don't want to pretend like I don't want to make it seem like I'm being disingenuous, because they do seem to slowly descend, very, very slowly. It takes several minutes, but eventually they seem to get to the point where they're like at or below hill level. Now, I don't know, maybe the aircraft is descending or whatever is recording this. I'm not sure. And then at one point here, they're zooming in on this. Like, if this was just like a flare that they're using for targeting, why is the person zooming in on it? Like, you're clearly trying to get a good look at it. They're clearly trying to look at this and figure out, like, what are they looking at here? Right? And they can't tell. It just looks like a ball. They're zooming in on it. They're trying to figure out, like, can I get some intel on this? And then right there, this is a good shot right here as well. I mean, that right there to me is the quintessential plasma. Look at that very, very clear outline that you see of it like that. You can see essentially like the membrane of the plasma around it. This is the thing that we should be looking for. This is what we should be looking for. Yeah, double layer. That's what we should be looking for when we're looking for our plasma orbs, guys. And then it flips over. So it goes back out and it flips over to true vision. So now we are seeing it at nighttime here, right? We're seeing that at night. So we can see these are just illuminated objects in the sky. They're just illuminated orbs. There you go. Now, if that was a flare, we would be able to see smoke. You would see smoke because the illumination of the orb would illuminate the smoke as the flare is dropping from the sky. So, personally, guys, I don't care what people want to believe. You want to believe that that's flares or whatever. If that's what you need to keep your worldview intact, go nuts, man. I really don't give a crap. I just want people to understand the physics of plasma, and I want them to understand what it means. It's not confusing for us why those orbs reform, because whatever object's inside that orb is producing the plasma. The magnetic object inside the orb is producing the plasma, creating the plasma orb. And yes, a big shout out to Bob Grenier. I don't think I've shouted him out enough, but he definitely deserves a huge amount of credit. That's him right here, because he was the first person to really stick their neck out related to the MH370 videos from a scientific perspective and show that there's a connection to fusion. There's a connection to fusion in those plasma orbs. There's one more video that I want to show, actually, that's also related to this, that is actually really fun. Here it is. Is this it? Let me just make sure this is the right one. Oh, no. You know what? I don't know what it's called. Maybe I'll post it later instead, actually. So I'll just tell you, there's another great video that I've shared a couple times over Tehran. I might be able to find it real quick. Hold on. Iran. I think yeah, Tehran's the capital of Iran, right? Let's see. There's a UFO video of a plasma orb being shot at over Iran. All right, we got it, baby. We got it. Here we go. Get excited, chat. Ashton brings the receipts every single time. Okay, before anyone tries to say, oh, this is fake, this is whatever, this was filmed from 3 different angles. This was filmed from 3 different angles over the capital city of Iran, Tehran. Okay? Here we go. Wait, where is it? Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. So we've got some kind of illuminated energy orb in the sky, and they're literally shooting dozens and dozens of projectiles at it. Dozens and dozens of projectiles at this thing. You can see them detonating in the sky, right? And I don't know if this version is the best, but in several cases, like right there, it looks like it almost is like deflecting them. Like the things are just not hitting it. They either explode right beforehand or right after. This video is from several years ago. And here's the other thing. Now, this video, the reason why I like showing this one is because there's no way this video is targeting practice. I mean, you don't target practice over your capital city. You don't target practice over your capital city with live munitions. It's a little bit dangerous, right? And this thing stays up there the whole time. Doesn't even move. Doesn't even move. So I think I wrote when it was. I can't remember. I don't know. Anyway, people can dig around. There's several different perspectives of that video as well. Okay. So, plasma orbs, chat. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the statements that were made in the UFO hearing today. Because we heard from several current or former military members. Also heard from George Knapp. But I think the one that was the most interesting was this new guy that I had never heard of before. His name was, what's his name? Well, Mr. Borland, okay? What's his first name, guys? I don't know. Here we go. Here's the video. Okay. Shout out to Jay, Project Unity here. Project Unity, Jay doesn't realize the MH370 videos are real, which is kind of embarrassing for him. It will be extremely embarrassing for him in the future. But I don't really have anything personally against him. He's a nice guy. And in the end, I think the videos being real will help advance what he's been talking about. So here you go. This is Mr. Borland's testimony to Congress earlier today. You ready for this?
My name is Dylan Borland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I've also been employed with BAE Systems and Intrepid Solutions as a senior analyst, expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle, as well as naval and ground order of battle. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and ARROW with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with craft and technologies that are not ours and are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have endured sustained reprisals from government agencies for over a decade. From 2011 to 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces and the Global War on Terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 0130, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base.
Holy shit, chat! Let's go! Let's go! 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from a base? Oh, baby. Where is it? Boom! Gotcha, bitch. Oh, my God. What? Okay. First of all, equilateral triangle. Yeah, we got some equilateral triangles. Chat, we love equilateral triangles. Turns out plasma orbs are attracted to equilateral triangles. It's how they like to be. They get in a perfect equilateral triangle, boom. And how is an equilateral triangle possible? How do they do that? How do they do that? It's magnet inversion. It's just magnet inversion. Magnet inversion makes objects lock in. And once they get to a certain point, they don't repel or attract. They just, that's their equilibrium point. And somebody just says, well, he worked for BAE Systems. BAE Systems is one of the major defense contractors. Especially, I think they focus on sensors, I believe. Yes, a lot of people in the chat are saying BAE Systems as well. So not only are we exposing this technology, we're starting to identify which are the major defense contractors that are working on this technology. That, I mean, the other big point about that is he says he saw it take off from a base. It's not aliens, bro. It took off from a base. If you're watching an object take off from a U.S. military base, pretty good sign it's a U.S. military object, right? Maybe. So I don't know if I have the clip, but he gets questioned. I think it was Nancy Mace that was questioning him, saying, like, do you think this is our technology or not? Or do you think it's aliens? And he wouldn't answer. What do you mean you're not? How do you not answer that question? How is that? He goes, I can't answer that unless I go to a skiff. What? Why do you have to go to a skiff to tell me your opinion or you think it's aliens or not? Like, that's the most silly thing ever. I was actually very, very briefly in Chris Leto's chat, and I said that, like, why would I need to go to a skiff for you to tell me if you think that it's alien technology or not? Just say you think it's alien technology, or just say you think it's human technology. I don't see what the big deal is. By the way, chat, Lulu sighting over here. We have a Lulu sighting, chat. Rare Lulu sighting. Okay, here we go. Let's keep going.
The craft interfered with my telephone.
I mean, actually, I need to listen to that again. Let's go back a little bit.
Standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 0130, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years after that experience, I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP legacy crash retrieval program through a sensitive position.
So he also mentions some what he's saying right there. See, I think a lot of people probably ignored part of that, like interfered with my phone. He starts listing off things that are electromagnetic phenomenon. He's listing off these electromagnetic phenomena, which is what we would expect from a plasma. Why? Yeah, he said someone said it smells like static. Turned off my phone, right? Now, this is really important because the plasma is producing its own electromagnetic fields, and not weak electromagnetic fields, extremely powerful electromagnetic fields. Just conceptualize this. Think about this for a second. You've got some plasma here in your hand. The more plasma, the more dense you get this plasma, right? The more powerful the electromagnetic field is going to be. Now, what that means is at some point, you add enough plasma, you get your plasma dense enough, and that plasma electromagnetic field is going to be so powerful that it stabilizes the entire plasma. That's what we're talking about. So what should you be looking for? Dense plasma. Dense plasma, yes, just like a sun. How much dense plasma can we fit together? The more dense plasma we can fit together, the more we're going to have our plasma orb get compressed. More we're going to have it become stabilized. It's crazy that this is just actually like nobody can deny that that's how plasma works. They can't deny it at all. They just have to ignore it. Like, this is why I say that it's all about brainwashing. We've just literally been brainwashed. Because we know this is just normal physics. People just don't know about it, I guess. Okay, let's go back to this. Let's listen to him some more.
Position I held within a special access program. During this time, intelligence officers approached me in fear for their own careers, citing misconduct within these programs and similar retaliation that I was already enduring at this time. These issues include medical malpractice committed by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the United States Air Force, forged and manipulated employment documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed to not speak with me, manipulation of my security clearance by certain agencies, blocking, delaying, and ultimately removing my ability to be employed within the IC. The retaliation I face and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March 2023 to become a whistleblower. I came forward out of concern for people's lives and to ensure I did everything I could to let our elected representatives know the truth about what is really happening in the executive branch. At the end of March 2023, I agreed to meet with Arrow following the suggestion of other federal officials believing it was what our nation required of me. I had reservations with Arrow due to assessments they were reporting publicly at the time as a misrepresentation of the truth. Because of these concerns, I did not share sources and methods information in order to protect current and former federal personnel who had firsthand exposure to technologies of unknown origin. I did not want anyone to face further retaliation beyond what they had already endured. And unfortunately, a staff member ended up getting in some trouble because of that. After David Grush testified under oath in the summer of 2023 and provided historic disclosure, I was then asked to go to the ICIG and did so in August 2023. It was very clear early on during my intake interview, which was video recorded under oath, that the objective was to solely assess how much I know and not move forward with an investigation with new information I provided them. The aftermath of that IG complaint still troubles me to this day. Since my ICIG complaint, I've been prevented from resuming prior employment and can confirm I'm still blacklisted from certain agencies within the intelligence community. In addition, multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to assess what I had divulged to the Inspector General, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph for a position unrelated to UFO UAP matters as recently as November 2024.
I gotta say, I like this guy. Yeah. Why can't I quit you, science? You're too damn exciting, science. All your plasma science, I just love it too much, chat. I like this guy. I can tell he's being genuine. You can hear the fear in his voice. I mean, you can hear the fear in his voice. But the part that he's talking about right now, he's talking about what they do. He's like, what people need to understand is like, how do they destroy you? How do they ruin you? How do they keep this hidden? It's not even about killing you. Although he mentions later on, they literally can kill you. This stuff is protected for national security, which means the death penalty is on the table. He specifically says this. So this is part of the reason why people are so afraid. But the other thing he says is that they start going through his life. They start trying to make sure that like he can't get a job. They start messing with his career. This is the stuff that they do. In fact, they tried to do some of this stuff to me as well. Early on, the very first thing I did when I started exposing this, A, get my name out there, get my face out there. B, is I went to my own work. And said, I want to make sure that the content I'm covering doesn't, go across any lines. Because I knew 100% the very first thing they would do is they would start attacking my work. They would start calling up my work, saying that this guy is on the internet saying stuff. You should fire him. You should do whatever, right? And I've been very lucky that so far I have not lost my job related to this. And probably because I did that, because I got ahead of it. Because this is the stuff they do. They don't need to kill you. They just need to discredit you. They need to, tell people not to talk to you. They need to mess with your career. They need to mess with your money. Any of those things will destroy a human being. Any of them will. And it's stressful. It's even stressful for me thinking that at any moment I could lose my job. Because contrary to what the liars and deceivers tell you, this is not my job. I have a real job that pays a lot of money. And I don't need to do this for money. In fact, I probably shouldn't be doing this, to be perfectly honest with you guys. I don't make people online. I claim that I make $25,000 a month off this. I make like 1/10 of that. And almost all of that goes to the production company that I pay to handle all the social media stuff. So just to throw that out there, what this idea that people have that you're a social media person, you must be super rich, is not reality at all. Okay, so I just want to point that out as well, just to correct some people. Okay, let's listen to the last bit of his testimony here.
As I sit before you today, I and many other whistleblowers have no job prospects, no foreseeable professional future, and a nation every single one of us came forward to defend. Numerous individuals have come forward in various ways to reveal the truth of the UAP reality as patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel discarded, isolated, hopeless, separated from the country they serve. Efforts to rectify this situation for all whistleblowers have been difficult and troubling. And to my fellow whistleblowers and officials who know this information, I offer you my apology, something that I have never gotten, and I'm getting it to you. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, an oath that demands truth and transparency for our democratic republic to function. Each day, these truths remain hidden from our citizens. Humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold. Each day, victims of crimes committed by agencies and companies maintaining this secrecy are denied justice as another day our Constitution is shredded. In 2023, Patriots provided this committee and the executive branch with undeniable proof of the UAP reality, and I commend your continued commitment. The future of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has...
Whoa, pause, chat. Pause, chat. Where are my sound effects? Did he say we either go to the stars or we regress to the Stone Age? Did I just hear that right there? Because sounds a lot like what I've been saying about our future is either Star Trek or Fallout. Our future, given this technology, is either Star Trek or Fallout. Now, if you're not familiar with the show Fallout, take a look. Basically, it's like us post-apocalyptic destroying ourselves. Let's listen to that last 10 seconds again.
The future of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role as elected by your representatives is to act on it. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Okay. I like that guy, chat. I like him. Okay. Now let me see what else I've got for you guys here. So here's Nancy Mace. Here's another clip with Nancy Mace. This is the one where she questions him. Here we go.
Witnesses when you saw the equilateral. Okay. Mr. Borland, I'd like to start with you and ask a few questions. Were there any other witnesses when you saw the equilateral triangle? Were there other witnesses that saw the same thing?
Not to my knowledge, ma'am. At that point, the only people that would be awake is those of us that were doing operations for the GWAT and then security forces. So not to my knowledge.
And do you think that, in your opinion, that the equilateral triangle was the U.S. government's technology?
Pause, chat. Nancy Mace asks a good question. Doesn't make it all about herself. What is this? It's a day to celebrate.
I did once upon a time, but knowing what I know now, I'll have to answer that question as Skiff probably.
What? What? How am I supposed to take that response? Let me listen to that one more time.
Was the U.S. government's technology?
I did once upon a time, but knowing what I know now, I'll have to answer that question as Skiff probably.
Well, my next question is you teased us. So knowing what you know now means what?
I know enough to know that if you want an answer to that question, go to Arrow.
What? What? I don't get what game is being played here. My initial impression of that was the woke disclosure people got to him. The woke disclosure people got to Dylan Borland, right? The woke disclosure people got to Dylan Borland. He probably went to Jeremy Corbell thinking Jeremy Corbell will make me a whistleblower. And then the first thing Jeremy Corbell tells him is, no, that's not our technology. There's no way that was our technology. It must be aliens. Bro, he just said he saw an equilateral triangle take off from a base. He just saw an equilateral triangle. You're telling me that's not humans? Come on, bro. This just doesn't add up at all. And what am I supposed to take from this? I have to tell you that in a skiff? Are you trying to say that the aliens are controlling humanity or some shit like that? Because that's what it sounds like. And you know what? I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to ridicule you for saying that the aliens are controlling humanity. I'm just going to say, you better present some fucking evidence. You better present some evidence, man. Because this is a way where you're going to just careen your credibility. You were doing great when you were talking about all the electromagnetic interference and seeing your equilateral triangle take off from a base. But the moment you get asked about, is this human technology? And then you go, I have to answer it in a skiff. And you're implying that like the aliens are, controlling the government or something like that. Like, come on, man. You gotta actually like tell us why. You have to tell us why. You can't go, oh, I have to tell you that in a skiff. No, you don't. There's nothing about aliens that has to be said in a skiff. Nothing. Nothing about aliens that needs to be said in a skiff. Sorry, it's classified that the reptilians are controlling our government. No, it's not. No, it's not. So that was actually the red flag moment that I had where I go, okay, this is now my impression is that the people got to him and they convinced him that what he saw wasn't our technology. That's not Lockheed Martin technology. Don't look at that. No, it's aliens, right? Because that's the ruse. That's what the ruse is. The ruse is they're out here teleporting Boeing 777s with their plasma orbs, but they want us to believe that the aliens are doing it. They want us to believe that the aliens are the ones, zapping civilian airliners out of the sky that have microchip engineers that are connected to U.S. defense, right? Like, oh, it's the aliens that are zapping those, that need to get rid of those microchip engineers. No, it's not. It's human beings that need to do it, right? So that's my only red flag moment in this. Now let's let him finish.
They have the answer.
Do you think it was a foreign government?
Aliens are taking off from the NASA base, chat. Aliens are taking off from the NASA base. Now, one more thought on this. He does mention NASA base. What NASA base? I don't know if he mentions what NASA base it is, but we know about one really significant NASA base, right? We reviewed it last week. Marshall Space Flight Center, right? In Huntsville, Alabama, is one of the biggest NASA bases. Can you imagine if the location of this was NASA Marshall Space Flight Center? If he says that it's Space Juice City where he saw this, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to go absolutely nuts if it turns out that he witnessed this in Huntsville, Alabama at NASA Marshall. Why? Because watch Alex Jones, bro. Watch Alex Jones from yesterday. I'm literally on Alex Jones yesterday saying that the founder of helium fusion, John Slow, was working with Richard Eskridge of NASA Marshall Space Flight Center on plasma fusion propulsion. He was the #1 contributor, or a top contributor to the scientific efforts of John Slow, who's now helium fusion is trying to turn this stuff into energy. So if we find out that these orbs were lifting off from Space Juice City, shit, chat, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna crash out.
I do not. No.
And Arrow is supposed to be disclosing. The last time I was in a skiff with Arrow, they said they were going to be doing disclosures. Had they been doing much of that?
I don't have an answer to you you. I don't know. I know what Arrow reports publicly, and I know what I've been through.
Yeah. And some of this stuff can be, I think, debunked, right? There are weather balloons that look kind of a little funky, or drones or whatever, depending on the angle, direction, speed, etc. Are you scared for your safety?
That's a complicated question. So being here today.
So that answer, the way he mentions, like, she asked him, are you scared for your safety? As somebody that gets asked that question all the time, I like the way he answers this, because he answers it in a nuanced way. He's not saying like there's a dude out there ready to assassinate me. No. He's saying it's not really like that. It's not really like overt threats. They kind of act behind the scenes. They manipulate things behind the scenes. So let's let him finish.
If I say the wrong word, technically I can be charged with espionage. Espionage is a death penalty. Whistleblowers have faced it. John Kiriakou, for example. I am not scared for my physical safety in the sense of an agency or company coming to kill me, but I have no job. My career has been tarnished. You know, I'm unemployed, living off of unemployment.
And actually, this is really timely right here. So when I say, if you don't believe that they do this stuff, that they like try to overtly threaten or like subtly threaten you, it's actually happening in the chat right now by multiple people who I previously blocked and unblocked. I just want to show you this. Where's the guy who was saying that a second ago? You can see several people in the chat right now are trying to dox me in the middle of this because they know all about me. They've doxed my whole family. They've doxed my life. They've doxed where I live. And so you can see this UFO playlist right here. This person is mentioning the Yacht Club, which is a music band festival thing that goes on where I live. And so this person right here is literally threatening me, like, to try to point out that they know where I live. And they were doing this throughout the chat. Several of them are actually throughout the chat. They're like throwing little personal things in the chat that they know about me because they've stalked my whole life. They've tried to expose everything about me. So I want to point out that I know 100% they do this stuff. You're seeing it literally right here. This person right here. Like, go ahead. And this is why I say, like, when these people say, like, they pretend to get mad at me for doxing them or whatever. When I say, like, I'm going to dox these people, I'm going to expose them all, they get so upset. The reason why they get so upset is because they're projecting their insecurities. This is what they are doing all the time. They're not mad at doxing. They are trying to dox me every single day of all the time. Why? Why would you do all of this? I'm just a guy on the internet trying to expose United States government technology. Who would have so much vested interest is to go to this far, to try to expose me, to put me in danger? The only person who would feel compelled to do this is somebody with skin in the game, somebody who has something to lose, somebody who, when the truth comes out, their life is going to be over. That's who acts like this. That's who acts like this. And so what I tell people like this is, yes, I am going to dox all the Redditors. I'm going to destroy their lives. I'm going to end Mick West's life entirely. Dave Farina, all of them. I'm going to ruin their lives in every possible way that you can imagine. And not one person is going to try to morally grandstand or defend them or whatever. I'm not going to hear any of it because they've been trying to do it to me for years. So when they try to play, how dare you try to do that? No, they're literally doing it. When they talk about bots, this is a bot account. They're literally using fake accounts, fake bot accounts. You can look through my replies and see it everywhere. Everything they accuse me of doing, they are doing themselves. So I just wanted to go ahead and expose that right now. This what he's talking about right here is not a joke. They literally do it all the time. And I don't want to hear any bullshit about later on about you're a mean person for exposing these people. No, they are going to get what they deserve. They're going to get what they deserve. That's what's going to happen. And I don't want to hear any bullshit later on, okay? Don't come to me later on saying, Ashton, you should be nice to these people. No, they've literally tried to destroy my life for 2 years. So they're going to get what's coming to them. All of them will. I promise you. Okay, let's keep going.
Employment for the next 3-4 weeks until that's gone. So it's a complicated question.
Have there been stories leaked about your life to try to discredit you in the public eye?
As of now, I don't know.
We know they did that to Mr. Grush.
I am aware. Yes, ma'am.
They leaked his private medical information, horrific things.
See what he's talking about here? Same exact shit, right? They leak your medical information. They try to leak personal stuff about you. You'll see people taking earlier, I think I saw somebody went back through like a 15-year-old live stream. They somehow went back through my Twitch live streams from 15 years ago, taking screenshots and shit out of context. Some of them actually use one of my old social media handles, Trizzle. When you see Trizzle around, just realize all the debunkers are sitting in a Discord. They went through back my whole history, everything I've ever done on social media. They found my old internet handle Trizzle, and they started making a tag out of it. Why? Because that's their way of psychologically attacking me or whatever, to subtly let me know they know everything about me. This is what they do. This is the mechanisms they use for disinformation. It's actually completely disgusting. And if you're one of those people, I honestly hope you die. I actually hope you die. And when you do, I'm going to spit on your grave. So I just want to point that out. And by the way, if you're one of those people saying, Ashton, you're a good guy, you should be better at this. No, I'm not. I'm not the hero that you all deserve. I'm not. I'm just a normal guy who's flawed, who believes in vengeance and a wrathful God. That's the kind of person I am.
It is.
Okay, you said in your testimony earlier with the chairwoman, you know other things. I guess that has to be mentioned in a skiff.
It would.
The other things.
It would, pending I'm even legally allowed to speak on, and the people in the room are even legally allowed to hear it.
And is that, would we need to know the compartmentalized word, like what the code word is or the name of the program, the special access program, in order to even hear it? You have to know the word, right?
I would
the name of it, right?
I would suggest that to be asked to DNI Gabbard and work with her for that, because I can't give you the answer on what is the requirement.
But this is what the U.S. government does, right? They compartmentalize the information. Only certain people know the name of the program, and if you don't know it, you can't get the information. If you don't know what to ask for. Even when we're reviewing the budget, we go into a skiff, we look at DoD budget and the budget of black box programs, and we don't know what we're looking at because we don't know what these programs are. Is it a way for the government to hide from Congress what's really going on and where the money's going?
In my opinion, absolutely, yes.
You mentioned too in your...
The compartmentalization aspect is huge. So the other thing people ask is how are they able to hide this? Why didn't it leak out more? And I always say it does leak out. It leaks out all the time, and that's why these people get attacked. That's why they get discredited. That's why you have debunkers make up fake shit about everything that goes out there, because it's leaking all the time. I showed you guys 3 videos tonight of plasma orbs. 3 different videos. And people just go, oh, it's flares. They got targeting flares over the capital city of Iran in the middle of the night, shooting live munitions at it, right? It leaks out all the time. Compartmentalization is why it's so difficult for anyone to get the full picture of what's going on. You compartmentalize the information, and now the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing anymore. In fact, I heard a really good argument that people said, they said that some of these programs were actually at risk of being defunded because the people that pull the purse strings, Congress, etc., they didn't even know how significant the projects are. Because you don't call it like magical plasma orbs that teleport planes. Like, that's not the name of the project. The project's just called like field reverse configuration. And they're like, whoa, what's field reverse configuration? We can get rid of that. They'll be like, field reverse configuration, that's some kind of fusion thing that's not successful. We don't need to fund that, right? So it's pretty crazy that like this stuff can be buried so deep that even the people who are pulling the strings with the money, they don't even know the significance of the projects they're funding. The compartmentalization is what was so successful, is what made it so difficult for anyone to see the bigger picture. Even Bob Lazar spoke about the compartmentalization. He said that he was only allowed to see like one part of the craft. That was it. He never got to see any other aspect of it. And this goes to show, I've said before that Bob Lazar does not believe in zero-point energy. Bob Lazar does not believe in zero-point energy. How do I know that? I know a reporter that got in touch with Bob Lazar. I know a reporter. I'm not going to say who they are because they asked me not to. And I only got permission to say this weeks and weeks and weeks afterwards. A reporter got in touch with Bob Lazar several months ago. They were talking to me about zero-point energy, all this stuff. They got in touch with Bob Lazar, and I was told that Bob Lazar does not believe, he has the normie mindset that zero-point energy is some insignificant thing that doesn't matter. And that's okay. I don't care if Bob Lazar knows about it or doesn't know about it, but this goes to show that even Bob Lazar, I believe his story is probably mostly true, but I don't have any way to prove it. But even in a situation like that, the compartmentalization makes it so that he wouldn't even know the full picture of zero-point energy potentially being the fuel source. He might have no idea what the fuel source is at all. And maybe that's why he thought element 115 is the fuel source. Or maybe element 115 is a fuel source. Maybe it is connected to zero-point energy. No way to know. So just wanted to point that out here in terms of how this stuff has been able to be hidden.
Testimony earlier that quote, you went to speak with the government and they said somebody's name, a colleague's name, and you said they shouldn't have mentioned that staff person's name. What does that mean?
A Senate staffer who is the one who helped me get to Arrow recommended me I go there, gave me the email and the phone number because I could not find that information at all at the time. In fact, I believe you guys have talked about how Arrow didn't even have a website for quite a period of time.
We were told they were going to do disclosures, both what they've debunked, because some of it can be debunked, and then what they haven't been able to debunk. And to my knowledge, it hasn't been a thing. I only have 1 minute left. So Mr. Knapp, we're definitely going to you. Watch every documentary. You guys have done you and Jeremy have done a terrific job.
What? This part was a little weird to me. She praises Jeremy Corbell. Jeremy Corbell was like taking shots at her. Right? Like Jeremy Corbell was saying that she was lying to Congress last year in the last year's hearing. He made this whole over-the-top bullshit thing about how he didn't get credit for some document or something. Now she's sucking him off? Now she's sucking them all off? I don't know. This just weird to me. Like, I'll be honest, guys, I don't have a lot of respect for Jeremy Corbell or George Knapp at all. I think that people that have been researching this for as long as they've been researching it, that know nothing about the science, like, they shouldn't be listened to. You shouldn't listen to them. Because at the end of the day, you can't distinguish between alien and human technology if you don't know anything about physics, right? That's the reason why I taught myself this. Is like, you can't just go, oh, look, there's magical orbs. Okay, now let's just start speculating about aliens and humans. You got to actually understand something about science to understand what's going on, maybe the history of it. And sure enough, the moment you do, you find out, oh, it maybe goes all the way back to the 60s or further, but definitely is connected to fusion technology.
I usually have more questions than I have answers. I think we all do, and you guys are doing a terrific job to bring information to the public. Do you think that any of this is a psyop by the U.S. government?
Entirely possible. I mean, our government and other governments have admitted that they've tried to use UFOs to cover secret projects, but I think they also do some reverse engineering of those claims. So years after people start seeing UFOs over Area 51, for example, they come up with the story, oh yeah, that was, we planted that story. So I read in a major newspaper just a couple of weeks ago, they planted this story. An Air Force colonel went out into the desert, went to a bar at Rachel and gave them some fake UFO photos. And that's how the whole story about Area 51 started, which is preposterous.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to the crash retrieval program stuff yet, Miss Chairwoman. There's just so much. Okay, thank you so much for your time today. I wish we had more time.
So, the thing about that, he says, could this be a psyop? Well, definitely, right? But it's not a psyop and that there's nothing going on. But even George Knapp admits right there, like, yes, they admit that they will use this alien UFO stuff to cover up for black projects. Okay, well then what the hell are we talking about? That's the answer, right? That's the simplest answer. Like, yep, there you go. They're using UFO stuff to cover up for black projects. The weirdest part, I don't have the clip of it, but I think he gets asked later on where he says he doesn't think there's any way that we could have made advancements in reverse engineering. This is a narrative that I hear from all of these people. In fact, when I was at Contact in the Desert, I asked two ufologists. I think Michael Schratt was one of them, and then Ryan was the other one. And I asked them, like, do you think that we've made advancements on this technology? And their answer is no. That's the part that I struggle with the most. I mean, it's wrong, obviously, but the question is, why do they believe that? Why do they believe that at all? Especially if you're just going to go ahead and admit that, you know, they use this to cover up black projects. Okay, what did that black project technology look like? Do they just think that the black project technology just looks conventional? It's mind-blowing to me that they think that humans could, as resilient as humans are, as innovative as humans are, as much as we evolve as a species, to think that we couldn't understand some advanced alien technology is crazy to me. To me, it's like, if there is alien technology, if there is crash retrievals, of course we've figured it out, especially if we've had 80 years. And the clues are there. The clues are all the technological advancement we've had over the last 100 years. Look around you. Does this seem like we've had a normal level of technological advancement to you? I've got a neon sign behind me here. I've got a computer in my hand that's more powerful than any computer that existed in the 80s, maybe even the 90s. This computer in my hand is more powerful than any computer from when I was young. We've got so much crazy advanced technology. Now we've got quantum computers. Nobody even knows what quantum computers do. People don't even know what quantum computers do. And we know those quantum computers are most likely doing the calculations required to make those orbs spin around and teleport something. It's very possible that that's what they're doing. Let me show some science. Because a lot of people will say, Ashton's just making this up. There's no real science that supports all this. Oh, there definitely is. There definitely is. Take a look at this. Where is it? This one? So what did I just say about dense plasma? Dense plasma. What does this say right here? Propulsion and power generation capabilities of a dense plasma focus fusion system for future military aerospace vehicles. January 20th, 2006. This paper is 19 years old. 8 years before the MH370 videos. I just told you guys that the more dense you make your plasma, the more your plasma will become self-organizing and self-sustaining. And here you go. This is actually written by the Air Force. Franklin Meade right here is a career Air Force project manager. Franklin Meade. Memorize his name. Franklin Mead, when you start looking at these Air Force Research Lab papers, you're going to see Frank Mead on a lot of them. On a lot of them. So what this means is either you believe that this is all fake science, that these people were just spending millions of dollars on science that was not even real, or this is real and they've been able to produce plasma drones. Why do I say that? Let's just read the capabilities of this supposed dense plasma focus. Q factor of 3. What did Salvatore Pais say? Salvatore Pais said that you can achieve Q factors between 10 to the 4 and 10 to the 9. So most likely they're downplaying the over unity factor here. The amount of energy that a plasma orb can store versus the amount of energy it takes to produce the plasma orb or to maintain the plasma orb. Somebody also made a great comment, said cold plasma means less mobile ions, which means that the charge accumulates more. So in a cold non-equilibrium plasma, you are potentially increasing your Q factor. These balls of plasma, they become even more energetically charged when you make a cold non-equilibrium plasma. Now, what can this be used for? Let's see. The excess power generation can be used for communication systems like Hal Puthoff's patent. It can be used for pulse-trained plasmoid weapons. This is some straight-up SDI Star Wars shit. Pulse-trained plasmoid weapons. Can you imagine shooting a plasma orb at somebody? That's essentially what that's saying. What's the next option? Ultra-high-powered lasers. Ultra-high-powered lasers. And then the last one, my favorite, gravity devices. How do you manipulate gravity? Well, I'm going to go ahead and say a dense plasma is probably what we need to kick it off, right? The thing is, manipulating gravity requires a huge amount of energy, a huge amount of electric charge. Well, that's what the dense plasma does. And if you can make it superconducting, especially along the barrier or the shell, boom, just like Salvatore Pais said, you can manipulate space-time. You can manipulate space-time. So when we look at those videos, which I'll just play it again real quick. When we look at this video of this orb flying through the sky, what do I think this is? I think this is a dense plasma focus. I think that this is a plasma orb, a dense plasma orb. And it's essentially producing this huge amount of energy. And it can have communications, it can have weapon systems, it can have sensors on board. So what could they be using these plasma orbs for? Like somebody was asking me earlier. They might just use them and fly them around and then just have them monitor the situation. You could have one of these plasma orbs fly over the Kremlin, and you could have it just listening to anything that's happening inside. You might even be able to have it do stuff like Gorgon Stare is doing. You might be able to have this thing go fly over a city and map a whole city with this. The technology actually becomes essentially magical in terms of what this thing is capable of doing. And then, of course, it has weapon capabilities. You got ultra-high-powered lasers, manipulating space and time, teleporting things. Did you guys all just notice? I just noticed something weird here. What was that? There's a ring right there. That's a weird ring. Huh. I don't know if that's maybe that's just an artifact or something, but anyway. Okay, so that was one of the papers, but there's another one. Let's take a look at this one right here. What does this one say? 1991. Now, I can recognize an Air Force Research Lab paper just like that. Once I see this seal right here, once I see this, all the Air Force Research Lab papers have this exact same look on the front page to them. Air Force Research Lab paper, parametric studies of dense plasma focus for fusion space propulsion with helium-3 fusion. You know what helium-3 fusion is, chat? Aneutronic fusion, the exact thing, the exact fuel source that helium fusion is using. Remember how we're trying to go to the moon and get the helium off the moon? There it is. Why do we need that helium-3? There you go, chat. We need the helium-3 because we can use it as one of our advanced fuel sources for our plasma orbs. This paper is from 1991. 1991. 34 years ago. This is why when people try to gaslight me and be like, no, we can't have this technology, it's beyond the human comprehensions, I go, bro, I've got so many scientific papers. The scientific papers, I just can't even hold on to them all. They're just dropping all over. We got some helium-3 plasma fusion paper over here. We got some Edward Teller space propulsion. Like, hell, man. Teller. Magnetic dipole fusion, right? So we say, oh, look at this one. Well, what's this? Space propulsion by fusion in a magnetic dipole by Edward Teller himself. Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb. Right here. This also, surprise, surprise, they're also talking about using helium-3 in this as well. They talk specifically, calls out helium-3 being used in this paper. So this paper, just again, let me just scroll down to the next page down here. What does this say right here? Whose name is that right there? What is that? Chat, what does that say right there? My eyes aren't very good. I think I need to get my glasses fixed. What name does that say? Oh, it says Franklin Mead. It says Franklin Mead Air Force Research Labs project manager right there. Oh, I really wish that Franklin Mead was still alive today because I would be blowing that guy's spot up like crazy. Almost certainly Franklin Mead, this whole plasma orb thing might be like his little child, his little brainchild. Like, this is the thing that his baby. He came up with this whole idea of, can we turn these plasma orbs into a drone? Can we fly them around? Can we figure out how to, link them together and teleport stuff? I hope that one day there's some kind of, like, somebody blows the whistle on this, somebody that knew Frank Mead and tells the full story about what this guy was up to. Because if I'm right, then this is basically the thread that will unravel everything. Like, you just start looking into Frank Mead and you find out this guy, the research that he's been doing is almost indistinguishable from what we would call UFOs today. What we would call UFOs. I mean, look at this one. This one again, who's on this paper? Franklin Mead. There's Franklin Mead right there at the top of this paper, along with George Miley, University of Illinois professor of nuclear experimental nuclear physicist, sorry. And David Froning. David Froning had multiple papers about gravity manipulation. Multiple. So once again, you either think that all these PhD, professor emeritus people that are probably in the JSON group are either all full of crap, and they're either all working on fake science. They have their, professor emeritus at University of Illinois. They just got that off fake science or something, or it's all real and it's just classified. It's just classified. And David Froning, as JK Philly fan points out, was connected to Unitel. Unitel was the company that they were trying to produce. They claim they have these orbiting drone vehicles that can quantum tunnel an object inside of it. Like, literally exactly the same as what's happening in the MH370 videos. In fact, I'm going to play that clip because it's amazing. You guys need to hear this. I think I have it queued up, actually. Let me see. Wait, what is it? What did I call it? Crap. I'll find it. One second. It's on my page. So on my page, you can find, and by the way, if you're looking for any of this stuff, guys, what you want to do, because I hear a lot of people ask me about, like, where can you find the sources for this stuff? The best thing to do is go to my Twitter page and go to the search on my profile and search for just the various words you want to look for. Plasma, Unitel in this case is actually just what I'm searching for. Even sometimes I can't find some of this stuff. So here you go. Here's Larry Maurer of Unitel, who David Froning, that paper I just showed you, is connected to Unitel. Here he is explaining his concept.
And also, a more interesting and recent example has been, it's always been on the electron scale in the past. They've been able to make electrons literally disappear at one point in space and reappear at another point instantaneously. But
correct.
More recently,
that's where they go across the barrier, and they don't really disappear. They go into, well, they would from our viewpoint and then reappear, but they go into a higher dimension or hyperspace, if you will. And it's not any kind of magic or anything. They just go into a higher dimension and then reappear in our dimension, their 4D space-time, at another location.
Well, I think that you may gather a lot of support.
Holy shit, I love this clip. I forgot how much I love this clip. I might crash out right now. Oh, I love it. That's Larry Maurer, founder of Unitel. David Froning, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis were talking to these guys. All these spooks, all these they were talking to Larry Maurer. Why were they talking to this guy? Well, what did he just say? Teleportation is not some magical thing. You're just briefly leaving our 4D space-time. You're essentially entering a higher dimension and then reappearing back in our 4D space-time. People ask me, where did the plane go, Ashton? Where are they sending this plane? They're not sending it to the Bizarro dimension. They're not even sending it to Andromeda Galaxy. They're just sending it somewhere else. And in this case, they're sending it somewhere else relatively close. I mean, sure, it might be 1,000 miles away, but that's pretty close compared to like how far other stars are from us. So let's keep listening to this.
Report from an experiment done this year also, in where an entire atom was made to disappear and reappear in another location. And that really proved that it's not a single particle phenomena. As long as there's entanglement going on, the actual size and number of particles involved don't entirely matter. That entanglement is a larger phenomenon than we've granted it might be in the past.
Correct.
You know, I also really like the concept of
entanglement. I got to give a shout out. That's Tim Ventura. Tim Ventura has some really great interviews. And he says entanglement might be something bigger than we imagine it. Like we imagine entanglement is like a single particle type thing. What if entanglement can be bigger than that? Right? This now opens the door. If you believe entanglement is the same as a wormhole, which I do, then now what we're saying is that entanglement can be a tiny little thing, but you can also scale it up. You can scale your entanglement up. And now you've produced what we would imagine to be a real macroscopic wormhole, much bigger. So if there is a deeper layer to entanglement, scale invariance, exactly, Aaron, scale invariance. What is very small can be made to be very large. Now we've just opened the door up to literal teleportation from the R size scale.
Not just tunneling, but also falling towards the warp in space. I'm actually holding a document that I printed out today by Matt Visser, where he describes the Alcubierre drive. And in a theoretical sense, he was able to square that away with relativity theory. The concept of compressing space in front of the craft and stretching it out behind so that the craft can attain incredibly high speeds. It sounds a lot like you're going to be doing that with your design, except that possibly it's based on more of a quantum mechanics approach.
Yes, that's correct. Getting back to what you were saying about the groups of particles.
Hold on, one question. This is a great question somebody asked here. It was a great question. This comes up in UFOlogy. Like crafts as big as a football field on the inside? Yes. I thought this was the craziest nonsense shit a couple years ago. This idea that you could go inside a craft and it would look small on the outside. And when you get on the inside, it's as big as a football field. I thought that was nonsense, but actually, under this perspective of 0-point energy, that becomes possible because you're essentially creating space. You're creating space-time. You can contract space-time and expand space-time. And what would you need to do that? You would need essentially a superconducting shell around your object. The superconducting shell would, in essence, displace that region of space-time, which means now the inside of that shell is not bound by the size of the outside of the shell anymore. So it's actually super weird, but from a physics perspective, the idea that that could be real is totally within the bounds of physics.
And an atom and that sort of thing. We've taken advantage of that in our design, whereas we can tunnel with what we call the main body vehicle, which we have to strictly adhere to the cap cone design, where we can stretch that into a cigar shape, if you will, for the main body vehicle. But at the same time, we can have the what we call the orbiting drone vehicles, or ODVs that will orbit around the vehicle and tunnel in a bound state as one particle would, and that's what happens with atoms. You have the nucleus with the electrons orbiting around it, traveling as one unit or in a bound state. Now, the orbiting of the ODVs around the MBV, or main body vehicle, the larger cigar-shaped vehicle, which has the payload, the personnel on board, and the various cargo that you would haul, with the lighter unmanned drones orbiting around the vehicle, they don't have to, orbit very fast. There's been a lot of tests that NASA kind of came up with the mother-daughter satellite system in outer space that kind of takes advantage of the same thing. Where
what the hell? That is the craziest shit I've ever heard, because he's just literally describing the MH370 videos. The ODVs, the orbiting drone vehicles, can entangle, and then they can send a payload in the center wherever they want it to go. I mean, we know why that works, because when you use your magnet inversion, when you lock your 3 orbs in, it creates a dead zone right in the middle. It creates a magnetic dead zone right in the middle. And what that means is now your magnetic dead zone is the safe zone for your object. Whatever you want to teleport away, you just enshroud it with your 3 orbs, and now your object in the middle can get zapped wherever you need it to go. That's exactly what he's saying in that video. Now, why do I think that Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, David Froning, and others were connected to Unitel? Because they knew that those guys had it. There's only 2 possibilities in my mind. One, they stole the idea from these guys. They straight up stole the idea. They were like, hey, these guys might be on to something. Let's go talk to them and figure out how it works. And then let's just go build it ourselves for Lockheed Martin and the Air Force. Or, there's another weirder aspect. These guys saw it. These guys saw it because, once again, how far back do those papers go? Those papers go back to like the 80s. So maybe these guys saw it and then they start reverse engineering it, right? Because he knows how physics works. And then those guys were going into gatekeep to try to figure out, like, ooh, can't let them get too close. Can't let these guys get too close to it. And what last thing I want to say in this is that Paul, crap, I'm forgetting his last name right now. There's a guy that was basically friends with them. Both those guys passed away. Larry Maurer and Michael, I'm forgetting their names. They were the founders of Unitel. They both passed away, and they passed away penniless. They had no money whatsoever. This idea that you become super rich when you figure out super advanced technology, that's not how the world works. In fact, usually it's the opposite. What do? They destroy you. They ruin you financially, right? If you have any skeletons in your closet, they'll dig those up. They'll use those against you. That's why, in my opinion, it's so important that you must be genuine if you want to be a disclosure advocate, and you can't be afraid of your past. Don't be afraid to be who you are. Everybody has faults. Let them try to expose them. Just because you did something and made a mistake in the past doesn't mean that the information that you're pushing out there isn't true. That's why when people come and attack me, I say, go for it. Go for it. Do whatever you want to do, right? I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed either. Okay, let's listen to the last bit of this. Wow, this is the craziest freaking interview ever, man. Literally the craziest shit ever.
You have your exeter frequencies between the orbiting vehicles and your main body vehicle traveling as one, if you will. And what this does, Tim, is it allows us to investigate or explore dangerous areas where the main body vehicle, MBV, can sit outside in space and send in the unmanned drones to a perhaps dangerous area to explore those areas without causing any danger to anybody on board. So that's a very good feather in our hats that we're taking advantage of this bound state system, and it's something that is part of our design as well. So yeah, that's a very good point. And as far as compressing space, it's the same as the conditioned electromagnetic fields. We're not really compressing space. What we're doing is we're kind of opening up a bubble.
We're kind of opening up a bubble? You mean like exactly what happened to MH370 videos? Keep this in the back of your thoughts right now. I think I have one more video clip that's really going to connect this home. That was Larry Maurer. Right there at the end, he said, we can send these orbiting drone vehicles to go scout out an area. Like we could send them to another planet to scout out the planet, and then we can teleport to them, right? That's what he was saying right there, is that then we don't have to put ourselves at risk. We can send the orbs there, and then we can have our payload get teleported there. That's what he was describing, right? Now listen to this.
I'm talking about reaching the stars by accelerating a wormhole to very high velocities and shooting them at the stars, and using relativistic time dilation to get there almost instantaneously.
So you fly through the wormhole?
You send the wormhole there, send momentum-bearing particles through it to steer it around to where you want it. You land it, and then you expand it and get out and explore the planet.
I see.
Boom! Let's go, baby! Let's go! That is John Kramer. That is John Kramer, experimental nuclear physicist out of University of Washington, professor emeritus at University of Washington, and one of the Black Project engineers that wrote one of the DIRDs, the Defense Intelligence Reference Documents. Which DIRD did he write? Non-locality. He's one of the world's leading experts in EPR experiments. EPR experiments. Quantum entanglement. That's John Kramer explaining wormholes. Why is an EPR expert explaining wormholes? Oh, let me think about that. Because ER equals EPR. A wormhole is the same thing as quantum entanglement. John Kramer fucking knows, chat. John Kramer knows, baby. Woo! Chat, okay. I'm pretty damn hyped right now. So, the last couple days have been absolutely amazing. We're going to wind down. I'm going to do some super chats here, but I want to shout out a couple things that are out there. One, The Resilient Show with Chad Robichow, I think his name is. I'm probably butchering his last name. Chad is a former, let's just say he's a former special operator. What Chad told me is that actually people that are like, let's say hypothetically Navy SEALs, you're not supposed to say that you are in special forces. You're not supposed to actually do that. Some of them do that, but you're not supposed to. The interview with Chad dropped yesterday, and there were two major aspects of that interview that shook me. One, Chad says that he knows Stephen Greer, talks to Stephen Greer frequently, and that they spoke about the MH370 videos, and that Stephen Greer believes the videos are legit. Wow. He just dropped that on me in the middle of the interview. I was watching the interview, and I'm listening to the interview, I'm just going, or like, you know, in the interview with him, and I'm going, wait, what? I'm like, Stephen Greer once said that, you know, his people tell him that that's a real wormhole that we're seeing. Yes. So make sure, go watch, guys. Go watch The Resilient Show. I'll put links to these shows in the description afterwards, so you guys can go down there and you can check it out, click on them, watch that show. Because the other aspect that shook me is that he said, I said, like, why do you think I'm being allowed to do this? That's what I wanted to ask somebody who's special forces, somebody that has actually done this stuff, because who ran that operation? JSOC ran that operation, man. Who ran the MH370 operation? It has to be JSOC. JSOC is Joint Special Forces. They have to be the ones that were running that operation. There just isn't anybody else. So I wanted to ask him, why am I being allowed to do this? And what was his answer? He says, if you're not being stopped, if you're not being killed, then you're being used, essentially. Like, you're part of the plan at this point, right? You're part of the plan. And that shook me because I think it's partially true. The only conclusion I can come to why I'm being allowed to do this, why they haven't knocked on my door or told me to stop, is that they at least want some of this out. They may not want everything out because nobody's out here telling me what to say or telling me what to do, but they want some of this out. And my response to that is fuck them. My response to that is don't you dare try to use me, bitch. If you try to use me, then I'm just going to expose everything. I'm going to start making lists of CIA people. I'm going to start making lists of Lockheed Martin people. And that's what I'm going to start doing, by the way, because I hate the idea of anybody trying to use me, even if it's indirectly. I don't give a crap. Just admit what you did. Admit what you did to MH370. I shouldn't have to do this at all. I shouldn't have to be the person that's doing this. I'm a healthcare IT consultant. I shouldn't have to be the person that's doing this disclosure of plasma orbs and plasma fusion, aneutronic fusion. Just admit what the hell you did. Stop trying to use me to do your dirty work. It's actually disgusting. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Also, I haven't yet decided which gun I'm going to get, but they gave me a free gun, which I was super excited about. Pretty awesome. Now, the other shout out is the Alex Jones interview from yesterday. I mean, that was an amazing interview. Alex Jones, during the break, told his producers, get Ashton my phone number so that he can put me on speed dial if he needs. He told me multiple times, if there's any breaking news stuff that comes, to text Alex Jones, to get on, what have you. Also said he wants me back whenever. I just kind of told him, like, whenever. I mean, I don't know. I'm down to join and, talk about this stuff anytime we want. And for the people that are upset or say, Alex Jones is a plant, don't trust Alex Jones. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody, chat. I don't trust anyone. But I don't have the luxury of picking and choosing which people I go to. Do you guys realize that no mainstream media has ever reached out to me? Nobody in mainstream media has ever once reached out to me, not from any news station, ever. And yet I have lines of people that want me to go on podcasts and do talks with them and stuff like that. But mainstream media doesn't want to talk to me at all. So I don't have the luxury of picking and choosing who I talk. I don't even have the luxury of being worried about if I'm going to be set up. I have to, any big platform that wants to talk, I have to go on it no matter what. So I just want you guys to understand that. Plus, this shouldn't be a political thing. Shouldn't be. Now, two last things. One is Redacted. I'm going to make a very brief appearance on Redacted tomorrow. We're going to talk about the plasma orb video that we just saw, because I actually think that I actually texted Congressman Burleson as well and told him that, like, good job. I don't expect him to text me back or anything, but I don't ever really message him. But when I saw that video, I was like, dude, good job, man. That's evidence. That video evidence of that plasma thing is good evidence. That's better than, honestly, anything they've released before this. So good job, Congressman Burleson. Great job. You actually got some good evidence out there. You put it in the public, and you weren't deceptive about it. You said exactly where it came from, etc. So great job on that. Watch the Salvatore Pais interview. Multiple people have messaged me about the Salvatore Pais interview from Sunday. They said that interview is crazy. I've watched it like 3 times. I'm going to tell you guys something else about that interview. Sal called me afterwards, and he said, I might get in trouble for that. Sal called me up and said, I might get in trouble for how much he was revealing during that interview. In fact, there were certain points in there where I started feeling a little bit uncomfortable because, like, we're really pushing the boundaries. I mean, we're really, like, if somebody else is out there trying to figure this stuff out, they can pretty much just watch Salvatore Pais interviews 1 through 4, and they're going to have a really good idea of how to do some of this stuff. So check it out while you can, while it's out there, while there's nobody's, censoring it. And then the last thing, and yes, happy birthday to Salvatore Pais. Happy birthday. And then the last thing, actually, I just mentioned it. Yeah, Redacted tomorrow. So we're going to check that out. Now, let's do some of these super chats. Pilled chat, you guys have been awesome. Thank you, Matt. He says, do you think that the U.S. government is in control of this technology or breakaway civilization? I do believe in the breakaway civilization theory. I do want to talk to Richard Dolan because he's the one that coined the term breakaway civilization. I think that's a great way to phrase it. You can also call it the deep state. Deep state doesn't really have, it's kind of has nebulous meaning. Really what we're talking about is a culmination of politicians, of the defense contractors, and of the military. and the intelligence community. Politicians, intelligence community, defense contractors, and military. Combine these guys together, and you get the deep state. You get the breakaway civilization. Thank you, JK Philly fan, for the 300,000 congratulations as well. That was pretty big. Okay, and then thank you, Tanya Nima. Thank you for the shades. I appreciate that. And then what we got in the YouTube channel? Thank you very much, Patrick. If you think shady voice telling you to sacrifice your children is worth worshiping, which every Arabic does, then you're the problem. Okay. Thank you very much. Eric Spencer says, they split when hit. Then the two entangled halves have their wave collapse onto the original places. That's my guess. Yeah, I don't know. The question of could the orb split apart and come back together certainly seems feasible, but it's without more evidence, we can't know for sure. But thank you very much, Eric, for that donation. Patrick with a second donation says, science and energy state. If you worship, okay, we're going to avoid some of this stuff, guys. Let's not get too like deep into religion and offending people's religion. It's kind of more, I'm not trying to avoid the topic because the reality is this. I don't think we can handle this level of technology while we have not necessarily religions, but we have societies, we have belief systems in which like we have to destroy the infidels, right? If your culture believes that we have to destroy all the infidels, the non-believers, then we're definitely going to annihilate ourselves with this technology. And I think with that perspective, you can see why the United States is basically just committing war crimes in the Middle East. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're basically committing war crimes in the Middle East. Why are we doing that? Because we can't trust them. We can't trust a culture that would blow themselves up with unlimited weaponry. Now, this isn't me trying to be racist. It's just me just telling you the truth. I actually, I believe that all people are generally equal, but at the same time, we are being taught to basically be violent, self-destructive beings. And unless we get rid of that, I don't know how we can really trust anybody to have this level of technology. So this is just really one of the sad realities of the situation, is how do you disclose this technology in a way that we don't annihilate ourselves? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't, but I don't care. That's somebody else's problem to figure out. Thank you, Mick Leonard, for this donation. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you, My Channel. Thank you, Catman, as well. I appreciate those donations. And then Brawley, GTA 4, says, fear is the mind killer. You are the boogeyman of the UFO community, and I effing love it. Yes, I also saw an old reply from Ross Coulthart from after he took a shot at me, and boy, that dude had a mask-off moment. He had such a mask-off moment. Those people must hate me with a passion, literally just destroying their whole little plan, their whole little alien disclosure nonsense that they were trying to do. Just completely annihilated that narrative. Trizzle, it's not me, I assure you. That's okay, no problem. I actually don't take any offense to people using the term trizzle, by the way. And then Catman, psychological warfare, it's evil. Matt Bartleson, who I've met in person a couple times. Cold, dense air in your engine makes more horsepower. Less humidity equals more combustion. Yep. Appreciate you, sir. And then Catman, last donation. Don't let them use fears of your past to control you. Exactly, everybody. Guys, thank you so much. All the people that have been supporting, like JK Philly fan said, 300,000 followers. I could have never, ever believed in a million years, never in a million years, that I would have that many followers on social media, let alone on just one platform. Blows me away. What I'll say is that I would give it all up in an instant. I would give it all up in an instant to work on this technology. I would delete all of my social media just to work on this technology. Because like Bob Lazar said, when he was asked if he would do it all again, he said no. He said, I got to work on magical technology. Why would I go through all this hassle, all this effort, all this work when I could just work on magical technology as opposed to trying to convince stupid people that technology exists? You know how hard it is to try to convince stupid people that super advanced technology exists? It's really damn hard. This is why none of them want to do it. It's just too much of a pain in the ass. So if I were to go dark at some point and all my social media were to get deleted, there's really only one of two things. Either I've been killed and they're erasing my whole past, or now I'm working for them, chat. So there you go. Guys, I love you. Have a great night, MH270X. Peace out. We'll be back tomorrow talking Hal Puthoff, talking 0 Point Energy. Can't wait. Later.
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeezed so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine, spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Coulomb forces balancing the plate, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound. A shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path is clear. Exploring the cosmos.